We're going to talk later, obviously, about what happened in 1998 because it's the anniversary today.
Yeah.
But with the build-up to that game, how do you deal with it psychologically and the nerves and everything that's going on? Well, because it was like different in your day. There was no social media or things like that.
No, sure.
So what do you do?
Personally or
No, personally.
Well,
are you watching tapes? Were you watching tapes of Brazil, going over things like that?
Nothing. No? We watched the semi-final because they played. I think they played it after us. I don't remember. Jules maybe knows better. And we saw the game and say, well, you know, I think it would have been a different story with the Netherlands. So we were quite happy. Because we knew the Brazilian team, we knew the weaknesses in corner kicks, for example, and then Jacquet told us about that guy, go for it in corner kicks because they don't pay attention, and so we knew that. I mean, most players we already played against, and
so you knew. So like, what are you doing, like in the downtime when you're not training? You just hang around at the hotel?
Well, yeah, we enjoy, you know. No, that was we had training session, and there is a famous, because there was a documentary after the World Cup when we see Didier Deschamps, Marcel Desailly, Lilian Thuram, Vicente Lizarazu, sorry, myself, and Aimé Jacquet talking about the skills of Ronaldo, and at some point, you know, because he moves the legs so much, you don't see the ball anymore. It's like a magician, and they're all talking to me like, "Good luck," you know. And it's funny because during the game there is one action like that, and I just, you know, took my chance and tackled the guy, and I was lucky. I got the ball. The ball went into Ronaldo shin, and the ball went out. And I had people, you know, clapping me and say, "Oh, so, you know, maybe they know who I am," because I was kind of unknown.
No, I don't want to know about that. What are you doing, like when you're not training?
I was staying in my room, stressing because I couldn't switch on the TV. I couldn't switch on the radio.
It was in France.
About, how can we win without Laurent Blanc?
Yeah.
Right.
I felt a little bit like whatever.
So did you see your family because you were in France? No. Because you were in Paris?
No.
You were completely locked away.
We were living in the training camp called Clairefontaine, where we stayed there. And no, we had no possibilities to see anybody.
So even though it was in France, you were still locked away?
Oh, yeah. We were locked down, and we had press conferences every day.
Yeah. So over dinner, you're like, right, let's not talk about the game, let's talk about other things.
Oh, no, we never talked about football.
Right,
we were talking about the holidays, having a coffee all together. Yuri Jokev was in charge of making the coffees.
Oh, okay.
That was fun, you know. And we were like almost all the squad talking together until late at night, and that's it. And during the day, you know, people were going for some messages, the others walking, whatever they would have done, and we had a training session, and we were very relaxed.
Really?
After all, when I think about the guys, I remember having crepes with Zinedine Zidane for breakfast, talking like we never would have a
and that's the way you wanted it to be. Obviously.
Oh yeah, that was perfect. That was the perfect, because you don't think about it. You don't play your game before the game. You don't think your game before the game, and that was perfect. I think we were very confident. No, how do you say? A little bit,
overly
like very French,
arrogant.
Arrogant.
Yeah.
But we knew that we had something to play into that game and to show into that game. And I have to tell you, after time we knew.
Right.
Already,
we
already knew.
What about you? Did you know that the problems with Ronaldo before you went onto the pitch?
We were told in the morning we were told that he went to the hospital, we knew that what he had. Yeah. And I was told that he was for playing games, you know, PlayStation games, you know, and I don't know what you say in English when you have that kind of problem. And so he went to the hospital, but I tell you, he was running.
No, because his name wasn't on the team sheet, was it, initially? And then it appeared because there was a lot of trouble with it.
It would have been, what is his name? Edmundo. I think
Edmundo, yeah.
Edmundo was a good player, but you had Bebeto, you had Rivaldo as well. So, but I don't think he was. I think he was tired by his season. He had a very long season. He played many games, but he was still in big shape, and we didn't care. I mean, he would have played or not, you know, would have been the same story.
Of course he would have,
We wanted to destroy them, and that's the only thing mattered for us.
When Laurent Blanc was sent off, did you know straight away that you would be the starter?
That was a deal with Aimé Jacquet. He told me 2 months before, you want to come, but you have to know that Desailly and Blanc is going to play, and if one of them is either suspended or injured, you're going to play. So when he got the red card, Jacquet jumped on me and said, "Frank, get ready." And I said, what's going on? I was talking to the third goalkeeper, Lionel Charbonnet. It was about having the last substitution. And they say, Jacques is not very nice with you. He said, you will never go into the game. So they said, Frank, got changed. And I heard, and I saw Laurent leaving the field, head down. And I said, I have to play. And because I didn't warm up, I was doing silly stuff, on the field for like 10 minutes, because I didn't want to get injured. And it's only during the game, after 10 minutes being on the field, I say, if we win, I'm going to play the final.
Right.
And I remember my mother calling me in the morning and say, are you playing today? I said, no, Mom, you know me, I don't care about silly games. I only play finals.
Oh, yes, that's brilliant.
And that's what it is, and it's part of the history. But I just have to say about Laurent Blanc that when we won the European Championship, everybody went into Trezeguet. You remember that golden goal?
Yeah, of course.
Everybody was running to David. I went to Laurent. Yeah. And I said, Laurent, I'm so happy you played that final.
Yeah.
Because that was so unfair. I mean, Bilic made a silly movie kind of movement, and he didn't deserve to be sent off. And I felt happy to play, but have to say that it was very unfair, and I was feeling sad for Laurent.
How was the day of the final? The lead up to it personally?
I always say that it was the worst day of my life and the best evening of my life. But crazy enough, I had a nap for 2.5 hours. I never slept like that in my life.
Right.
It was crazy. I think my body automatically switched off to rest me. And I didn't play a game I played only one game in 1 month. So I didn't know if I would have been good enough to cope with the situation. And that was cool. That was great.
And then what was it like? Like getting out on the pitch, seeing the fans with the national anthem, out of your nerves? How are you not just vomiting everywhere?
When we arrived with the coach, and we went in throughout the Stade de France, I saw the fans and everything, and I went out of the couch, and I took my pulse, and I was 180. Yeah. And I said, well, you have to stop that, otherwise it's not going to work, And I went into the dressing room. It was over. It was finished.
Really?
Yeah, because that's something we know.
I see. Then you have a routine.
Then you have a routine, and you do your stuff, and crazy enough, I had nothing. It's only during the national anthem I saw my parents and my father.
Wow.
And that was really special because I say, remember, you played in a little village and now you're there.
Yeah.
And just make sure that you're not ridiculous, that you do your job, and after football will decide, But my idols, Johan Cruyff, Michel Platini, never won the World Cup. Mm-hmm. And when you're French, you don't think about winning the World Cup. It's not a dream, it's a fantasy. And I've done better than my idols, which is impossible to think.
And now you're here as well. They've never been on this sort of show.
No, of course not. Well, I don't know if it's... but
this sort of show.
Jules, how old were you for the final, 98?
17 in July. I turned 18 in October. And I think I've said that to Frank before. We've said it on the show. I think every French, because he was the first one as well, would always remember where they were when the full-time whistle happened at the Stade de France, whether you were watching it at home with family, whether you were already on the street, because when Manu Petit scored the third goal, we knew already that we'd won, really, let's be honest, even after Marcel Desailly's red card. So already for us, for example, in our neighborhood, everybody was already down the streets, down the blocks, and we were just ready to wait for full-time, and then the whole neighborhood went crazy. So I think everybody, whether it was in the countryside, in a big city, in Paris, outside, would just remember exactly where they were when that full-time happened, and then everybody was just...
Was 17-year-old Jules worried that Leboeuf was starting?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I remember, and Frank was different because they were in their bubble so much that they would not have had the same perception that me as a 17-year-old or my dad reading L'Équipe every day or listening to the radio, and they were just cut out almost of what was happening in the rest of the country, and that was normal. But there was more outrage by the Slaven Bilic simulation that Frank just mentioned, more than the fact that Leboeuf would replace Blanc. Of course, ideally, you want to go in your strongest 11. But I remember the outrage being on Bilic, calling Bilic a cheat and, trying to get Blanc sent off, then for maybe Croatia to come back into the game. I don't remember, but maybe Frank remembers slightly differently. I don't remember anybody saying to me, Leboeuf is playing, so now we're stuffed, or now we might not win, or now. Because the team was so strong, overall anyway, and there was such a belief that it just felt that Frank we just slot in very nicely. And yes, Blanc, we used to Blanc, Desailly, Lizarazu, and Thuram and Barthez. That was the back five. But I was never worried that Frank would just take that place and not be at the same level.
That back five is so strong, isn't it? And Deschamps in front. I mean, Thuram and Lizarazu, what footballers they were. Yeah. So, you know, when you see it now, even now, many moons after, you still look at it and realise how good they were.
If you did a combined 11.
Quality they were. If you combined 11.
I would put Lizarazu on the left. I would put Lizarazu instead of Trippier.
Put Lizarazu in from Biarritz.
You said you never cried over it. You never cried.
No, I never cried.
Why would you cry?
No, but a lot of people
I cry now.
No, because you don't cry when you're happy. But a lot of people do cry when they're happy.
Like 5 years ago when I watched the documentary and when there is the last whistle and I see myself on the field, I cried.
Right.
Because my father was on the field and because it's nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's
what it is.
And I think you don't really realise, you know, at the present time. But like 26 years ago, what is funny is that people they don't say well done. In France, they say thank you.
Oh, wow.
So it's amazing. It's amazing the way we change stuff. Oh my God. Whatever.
Change the subject. It's getting emotional.
Look at that.
You can see that I have a nose surgery.
Yes, yeah, you can definitely see you had a nose surgery. There's no doubt about that. And then what happened? What's the celebration like afterwards?
That was we went with the families and kids. We went to Clairefontaine and we had a dinner all together there. But we only came back around 1 or 2 a.m. because I was like quite far along, and people down the street were getting crazy. We couldn't go nowhere, and we had a very easy one until Marcel Desailly decided to smoke a cigar and threw up because he never smoked before. But that was very nice. I remember my son. He was 6 years old, you know, with a big World Cup, and that was something absolutely great.
Cool.
But we only slept like two hours. But I remember going to bed at 5 and looking at the stars and say, I don't know what's going on, but not too far from you guys over there. And today it's something special. Yeah. But we didn't realize until the day after what we've done to the people. And when we arrived on the bus, on the coach, on the Champs-Élysées, we saw the 1-something million on the Champs-Élysées, and that we look at each other and say, ooh, that's crazy. And never stopped.
And of course, it was a tournament in which Zidane went from here to...
Well, you have to say, starting from the quarterfinal, don't forget that he was suspended. He got sent off against Saudi Arabia, second game, didn't play the third game, didn't play the Paraguay, and came back for the quarterfinal against Italy, where he was absolutely outstanding. Great against Croatia. I mean, the guy was running for the team like crazy. And in the final, he made the difference. Yeah. But for me, the real Zizou is 2000. And especially 2006, when he played the quarterfinal against Brazil, that is the only one Brazilian on the field is Zinedine Zidane. Yeah. And Jules can remember that. But overall, he made the difference. I mean, you know, and I always say that, special players, they do special things in a special moment. And he did that because he was a special player, scoring 2 goals in the final.
Was he at Real Madrid when you arrived from Liverpool?
No, he came...
He came from Juventus a little bit later. Like that first training session with him, you were like... Well,
no, he was always very gifted. He was actually quite shy when he very first came into Real Madrid because he didn't speak Spanish. So he only spoke French, of course, with the likes of Claude Makelele or Christian Carambeu, or Italian, if there was any Italian speakers in the dressing room. I'm trying to...
Cannavaro wasn't there yet?
No, Fabio wasn't there. So he was actually very humble, very shy, kept himself to himself, only really spoke with Claude Makelele. And... I think for the first 5-6 months, he struggled to really settle in. We didn't know where to play him. He played on the left as a 10, as an 8 on the right. And then it wasn't until the latter part of the season that you could really start to see his
until
class.
When? Until the final when he scored that volley?
Possibly.
Special moment, special player.
Yeah, that was the standout moment of that season, I think, personally for him. And then he became a lot more consistent on a game-by-game basis after that. But the first year, I think, if you speak to Zizou, he'd say he struggled to adapt. But that does happen. You know, when you don't know the language and you can't understand what other people are saying, it probably is very difficult, isn't it? And then he slowly but surely started to show everybody how good he was.
And very good indeed. When you're up against him in training, like...
well, you never go. You avoid him. You want to be... You make sure that the coach is going to pick you. Yeah, he was gifted, but... we had so many players around us, different but absolutely talented, and the young players like Thierry Henry, 20 years old at the time, David Trezeguet, that was something absolutely fantastic, and we had some monsters, you know, in front of me, the four defensive midfielder that were Marcel, Didier, Emmanuel Petit and Patrick Vieira. Sorry, not Marcel, Alain Bogossian. The four of them, I mean, they were just crazy monsters. And I had alongside me Marcel Desailly as well. You feel confident. And you had the crazy bald guy at the back, Fabien Barthez.
Yeah.
And the guy was, you know Fabien Barthez. I mean, he did some silly things in Manchester sometimes, but I tell you, he was a hell of a goalkeeper. And you feel confident. You don't feel any risk. And sometimes, you know, during the game, somebody is making a joke. During the game.
Really?
You had only Didier Deschamps yelling at everybody because they want us to give the ball to Zinedine Zidane. But you have some players, you know, capable of making jokes because you made a mistake. Frank, one more time and you get out. That was our team.
Jules, you're loving this.
I'm loving this.
It's amazing. And as Frank is talking, I can see in my head all the footage, everything. Like he said, there's this documentary that is obviously very famous back home, called Les Yeux dans les Bleus, so like deep into the blue eyes, the eyes of the blue players. And that it's not just an amazing, I think, memories for them, because obviously they had a cameraman with them that became their friend and was able to film everything that they were doing at Clairefontaine and then before matches, between matches, after matches, etc. But for us, when the movie came out and the documentary came out, especially for my generation, like my brother was a little bit too young maybe, but for our generation, it was amazing to be so inside all that camp for such an incredible adventure. So, I mean, I've got goosebumps when Frank talks about 98 and that final and the whole tournament.
It's something maybe for the young viewers of us today, if they want to be football players. I talked to Zinedine about his skills and everything. He said, well, you know, we had training session and I was staying 2 more hours and he was like 8, 9, 10 years old doing tricks,
right,
working on that. It's not randomly. Of course, you are gifted, but how much you use that to be special.
Yeah.
That's what he did. And Christophe Dugarry was saying that when he came from Cannes to Bordeaux, he wasn't the Zizou that he was. He was pretty fragile, physically he wasn't good enough. Roland Courbis, his coach, said he couldn't last 90 minutes, only 1 hour. But he worked hard physically to become that guy. I remember Gianfranco Zola saying, if I'm not physically 100%, all my skills are useless.
Right.
Because it's going to be too much to use. And those players are physically monsters. I remember in semi-final Croatia, I saw Zizou throwing up on the field because he was working so hard. That's what it is. You don't get anything randomly and easily. No, it doesn't work like that.
We've talked about this before. You were surprised that he's gone into coaching, given his personality.
Oh, yeah. I think nobody was...
Were you the same, Marco?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
If Didier Deschamps and Laurent Blanc, we could have guessed, let's say, nobody would have put a penny on Zizou. And when I saw him working with... Is that La Masia? No, the Academy?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah. He was La Castilla. He was working with them, and I saw a documentary, and he was just going in, and I said, oh my God, it's a catastrophe. And I saw him 2 years after talking to a goalkeeper straight after a game that he played, and I said, wow, that guy switched to perfection. And I texted him and I said, I just saw the documentary. Well done. I mean, man, you're ready. You give me goosebumps talking to a young guy, explaining what you wanted to explain. And he was ready. And again, it's not randomly that he won 3 Champions League in a row. Because, yeah, he had good players, but how you deal with those players and you make them playing the way you want them to play. So in football, that guy is a genius.
Is he wasting time a little bit now, waiting for Deschamps to leave?
I think he put first the way that he wants to live his life. He's not ready to sacrifice his life by going somewhere else, and I don't want to name any town where maybe the weather is not the weather that you have in Madrid. People are going to put pressure on him. I think he's just happy there, and he wants to choose, and to be able to choose. I think he was called by Juventus, and he was a Juventus player. And maybe the weather is not that good enough in Turin for him to stay. And he wants to have a good life. He wants his wife and his kids to have a good life. And he's a grandfather now, too. So he wants to enjoy his time. And he's not going to sacrifice anything. but maybe for the national team, or maybe going back to Real.
I mean, you can imagine Paris Saint-Germain must have had a conversation with him down the line.
Yeah.
The amount of times they've changed managers, they must have had to give him a phone call. And he probably said, no, he's not ready yet. He adores Madrid. He wants, as Frank rightly said, he wants to live a family life before he makes any silly decisions. He doesn't need club management or the wages it brings.
There is another story about Paris.
Yes, of course,
because he's from Marseille.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Yes, I know. And also, if he wants to jump into management, he will do. He's got boys himself who are summer professional footballers.
Yeah.
And, you know, why not watch them instead of,
right.
24 hours a day, jump back into a job which is, stressful to reach. He's not going to beat his record at Real Madrid.
No.
3 Champions League in 2.5 years. I mean, it's physically impossible. So that's something that will not be repeated. So he might as well just wait, bide his time, and pick and choose whatever he wants to do and whatever makes him happy.
Back in the day, was he at the Buddha Bar with you?
What's the Buddha Bar, Dan?
Oh, I believe it's a bar that's populated by players.
It's also a beautiful popular bar in Paris.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, I've never
Gucci lived there 25
never heard of it.
Never heard?
My name's above the door.
Would he party with you boys? Was he kind of that?
No, he wasn't a huge partier, no.
Yeah.
But a lot of the lads weren't, to be honest. It's a different...
Yeah.
The Spanish life is a different way of life than the English life, which is probably different to the French way of life. So, no, it wasn't a lot. I mean, games in Spain were played a lot later, as you well know.
Yeah.
So, only various people went out and did what they need to do after games.
Did what they need to do after games.
Unwind.
Is there a WhatsApp group of you guys? Do you have a group?
Oh, yeah, we have
the
the F98
yes.
group, and who studied? Alain Bogossian studied today. Say, guys, 26 years, forever.
Wow.
And everybody is texting. We love you guys. We send stuff, nice stuff.
I've already seen the one off Christian Cadenbou. He sent me that. He sent me one today.
Fantastic.
No,
it's
we
nice
try.
for them.
We have a dinner every year around December, normally, and it's always fun. And it's also with the medical staff and the technical staff. So we see Aimé Jacquet.
Oh, nice.
I organized a game where Aimé was our coach, and it's always a pleasure to see them. And Aimé Jacquet is 80 now, so we have to take care of him and the others. And it's always nice. We try to keep that between us. And sometimes we have some, like Deschamps and Dugarry, they had some tension. And we always call each other, say, stop that. Because people don't want to hear that. It's none of their business. If we have tension, we keep it between ourselves. Because people don't want to see that. 98 was the perfect team at the perfect time where you had black people, one Arab people, Zinedine Zidane, and white people, one Armenian, 2 Armenians, Bogossian and Joker. And it was perfect. And we showed that French people could live together with no problem whatsoever, that there was no terrorist attack, that there was the perfect world in France, and we could party together and be united. So France 98 represents that. So we don't want to destroy that.
And there'll never be another 98 side, obviously, Frank, because they were the first. Jules.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, 2018, because of the anniversary, felt a bit like destiny, but it was a very different time. It was a very different competition. And like Frank said, when you just said that in your question, the first one is always special. All World Cups that you can win are special, obviously. But the first one at the time, like Frank just said, where the country was going into a lot of unrest, we just needed something a bit special. And they provided it. And it was an incredible adventure. And whether it was Zidane in the final, whether it was Laurent Blanc in the last 16, whether it was the penalty shooter in the quarterfinals, whether it was Thuram in the semi-final, everybody at some point, or Frank in the final replacing Blanc, at some point, everybody just took their part and brought their thing into this incredible team, really, that for the first time ever, and we've said it before, the French are not fanatics about their sports. It's not like in England, it's not like in other countries. We don't have huge crowd traveling abroad, but in that competition, that month of tournament, something changed forever, and that was very special.
Just one little last thing that I want to say. We talked about the luck, and I think England has the luck right now. With the last goal of Jude Bellingham, last goal of Ollie Watkins. I think there is something special, and you need that luck. Semi-final, Lilian Thuram never scored a goal before with the national team, and he would have never scored a goal after.
Right.
He scored 2 goals, and when on a celebration, a second goal, and he does like that, wondering what's going on. You know, you have to believe that there is something up there, or somebody up there trying to do something to help us out. And we talked about that. And yes, when you have that luck, we didn't have that luck in 2002. First game against Senegal, I think we hit the post 2 or 3 times. That's it. That's football. A Baggio quarterfinal during extra time, hit the post and it goes out. Otherwise, bye-bye, you never win the World Cup. That's all. It's little details, and you cannot, you know, think about everything. And the luck has to be part of it, the talent, of course, but the luck is big part of a win.